The next topic I would like to talk about is emotional spending. We talked about not looking at your money and avoiding looking at it. And therefore, people like banks and credit card companies and corporations like that can take advantage of ignorance because it's not really a good thing to be ignorant. But another thing I want to talk about is emotional spending. Most people spend out of emotions. Some people spend to impress their friends. They buy the new brand new car that they may not be able to afford, or the new brand new house. I mean, look at the economic crash with the foreclosures that happened, and people were buying houses that they couldn't afford. They were buying houses with interest-only mortgages, hoping that the housing value would go up, therefore they could refinance and then have a more manageable payment. And then they had variable interest rates where the interest rates would change, and there was no way they could afford the payments because they went boom, they went way, way up, and nobody could afford it. And then they had this huge crash, which wasn't very smart. I understand that banks took advantage, but you know what? They were taking advantage of people's ignorance. People were being ignorant, and I have to give responsibility to a lot of people that did that. And if you did that, I'm not admonishing you and saying that you did a bad thing. This is how, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. We learn from our mistakes and we only move forward from here. So if you made that mistake, I'm not admonishing you. But what I do want to say is you have to take responsibility that you made a bad decision. And if you had listened to your internal guidance system, which most people don't because we're not taught to do that when we're little, but if you had really listened to your gut, you would have known not to do that. And most people didn't because they went on all the hype. Oh, we got to buy a home. Home ownership is to wealth. We got to get it now before they go up more because the prices keep going up and up. I got to get on the bandwagon. Everybody wanted to jump on it. I didn't jump on it, but that's because my degree is in accounting and I work managing finance departments, and I know a thing or two about mortgages and how they go up and economics and all that. And I knew that it was going to crash, and I didn't want to be holding the tab on a huge mortgage payment that there's no way I could afford. So I didn't go into it, and I know a lot of people did. And the banks took advantage of people's ignorance. They did. They really did. A lot of these mortgage companies and banks, they went, these people, they knew that it might crash, but they're like, oh, well, whatever. They'll lose their shirt, but oh, well, what are we worried about it? We're just going to let everyone jump in with all the hype. So that's where ignorance plays in, but also emotional spending. A lot of times it's emotional spending. You think that's your ticket to wealth, and it really wasn't. I mean, there are other big speakers like Robert Kiyosaki that says that he doesn't believe that a house is an asset, that a house that you own and live in is really an asset, which most finance people will say it is an asset. It's considered an asset on the books, but if you have a liability, it's not really an asset because really it's your net worth, not what you own, it's your net worth. And your net worth is your gross, meaning your asset, which would be your house, the value of your house, minus your mortgage payment, your liability, which you owe the bank. That's your net worth. And guess what? You buy $500,000, well, let's say your house was valued at $500,000 and you got a $500,000 loan, and then guess what? With the foreclosure, it dropped to $400,000. All of a sudden, you're $100,000 in the red. So that's not really, you didn't own anything at all. Most people were counting it going the other way, and it didn't. That was emotional spending. But people emotionally spend in other ways. They buy motorcycles or cars that they can't afford and all kinds of things because we emotionally spend. And that's something emotional deep within, and you're trying to cover it up by buying stuff and making you feel better. It's just like emotional eating, but it's just emotional spending. It's the same kind of thing. They all kind of cross over. Emotionally spending, oh, I want to feel better. I'm going to eat this ice cream now. I feel like crap after I ate it. Same thing with emotional spending. I'm going to go buy things, and then I'm going to feel better. My ex-husband was a really bad emotional spender. So I've had a lot of experience with that. So you have to really watch your emotional spending. Also, being a parent, whether you're a mother or a dad, women are the worst at this though, because women feel guilty when there's a divorce and they have children, and they feel really guilty about their kids having a split marriage. They feel like it's their fault. Not that men don't. There are some men that feel guilty too. I'm not saying that, but it's really common with women. what they'll do is indulge their children financially with money and give them things. Oh, let me buy you this, let me buy you that, and indulge them. And then the kid thinks, wow, I just get things handed to me. How cool is that? That's not really a good thing. You're not teaching your kid anything. You need to teach your children about money. You really do. And you need to be the model for it. You're their role model. And you can't expect them to learn how to handle their finances if you don't handle your finances. So you really do need to not indulge your kids with money. And that's emotions. You know where that's coming from? Well, most of the time, money spending is shame or guilt. A lot of times it's shame or guilt or emotional problems like that, and that's where it stems from, where money problems come from, or something in your past sometimes. But the emotional spending on your children, that comes from guilt. That's fulfilling guilty feelings, that you feel guilty. That's not a good place. When you spend money, it can't come from what I call a lower vibration feeling, like guilt or shame or rage or anger or depression or anything like that. It needs to be a higher vibration feeling, meaning like joy or love or gratitude. When you're spending money with a higher vibration feeling, that's a good thing. If it's a low vibrational feeling, don't do it. But I don't want this video to get too long, so I'm going to have to cut it here, and I will go more in detail in the next video. So join me next time, and we'll talk a little bit more about emotional spending and guilt, shame, and money.